Hello and welcome to the Terror Express. I have returning today Vanessa Wright, who has been on as my co-host and is returning on this episode as a guest. Hello, Vanessa.
Hello, Jason. It's weird being on this end of things now.
Let's actually start with the Renegade Film Festival and tell us how that began, how it evolved, and what we can see in the future.
Sure. So the Renegade Film Fest actually started as the Women in Horror Film Festival back in 2017. Um, and it ran as Women in Horror for 2 years. Then we kind of had oh, I'm sorry, 3 years. Because 2020 was the last one, and 2020 lasted 5 years. So
It
how
did.
weird. Um, but with that came, I really was trying to think about how this needed to evolve if it was going to be a sustainable event. And I really needed to think about my goals as far as a fest director and the brand and what I really wanted to do. And branding it as Women in Horror felt almost exclusive, and that was never the goal for me. I always wanted it to be a very inclusive event. I wanted everyone to feel welcome, but I wanted to make sure that we were showcasing and highlighting all marginalized voices, because I
I
think
love
it's
that. Yeah.
extremely important, especially in genre film.
What was it that inspired Women in Horror Film Festival to begin in the first place before it evolved to the Renegade?
Going to other festivals. I was traveling a lot with my partner at the time, in the fest, to other film festivals, either with screenplays or short films. And we were hitting primarily genre festivals. And I noticed that there was just a lack of women. There would be maybe a handful in a room full of men. Um, and I don't think I had ever really experienced that before. I mean, I've always felt very secure and comfortable in any room that I'm in, but it was just something that I started to pay attention to and notice. And I was like, where are all the other women? Like, I know there are
Mhm.
plenty of, female and female identifying creators in genre. So it kind of sparked a thing that I was like, maybe we should create something that highlights women and brings them to the forefront and not just women in the director's chair, because there are so
Yes.
many other elements, that go into the collaboration of making a film. And we wanted to showcase that. We wanted to highlight cinematographers and makeup artists and writers, and editors. And so that's kind of what initially sparked it. And my goodness, did we have a foolish amount of support. It was overwhelming.
I love that it was born from that. Now we've co-hosted together. We've had guests on where we've talked about feminism in the
Yeah.
industry. We've talked about inclusion, diversity, all these important things that really need to be talked about. And the Renegade Film Festival, I think, is such an important fixture in the horror community as far as bringing together all these amazing talents, these collaborators,
Yeah.
um, who are women who are gay, who have no advocacy, all of these directors, writers, producers,
Yeah.
voices that need to be heard and you know haven't been. And I really think your film festival is such an important staple in this, as far as opening those doors, as far as getting those voices heard.
It is. And
And
and to me, it's so much more than trying to check boxes, which I
mhm,
think, I think a lot of people tend to do when they're thinking inclusivity. And it's like,
mhm,
nobody wants to be pandered to. It's
right.
not about checking boxes. It's about creating atmospheres where inclusion happens organically. Yes,
Yes,
as the fest director and
organically, and that
programmer,
that
I
is
can
a
curate
huge
what's going
keyword.
on.
Right,
Yeah, and
right.
it needs to happen organically. But I'm also not checking boxes. I'm not like, well, okay, we have our person of color, we have our LGBTQ representation, we have, to me it was about creating a space where all of those creators come, and and we're not shutting out the straight white man.
Mhm,
This isn't
right.
one of those situations, because that's not the reality. I mean, to me, I really wanted to create, for lack of a better word, a utopian situation where it's like this is what the industry should look like. We should all
Right.
be here to play together.
Right. And I love that you said, and all of those creators come. That right there is literally the atmosphere that you've created. We have all of those creators,
Yeah.
and I've been so fortunate to be able to be at your film festival, and the atmosphere was utopia. It was comfortable. It was laid back. It was everybody, all these beautiful colors and
Hmm.
talents just blended together, and everything was a beautiful atmosphere, and it felt like something that just it needed to be there, and it
Yeah.
hasn't been for so long.
And, obviously, I'm constantly striving for improvement. Nobody's perfect. I know there are areas where, the event can improve and we can do
Hmm.
things better. And I'm constantly trying to do that. It's, I, and the event and everyone else, I'm just a work in progress. And,
Yes.
I think progress is the key word. It's
Yes.
really about making sure and showing all of that diversity both on screen as well as behind the camera. We're definitely looking for more inclusive and diverse stories as well,
Yes, I
which I've
love
been
that.
so thankful that we are getting and we are seeing, and I'm not having to just, you know,
Right.
poach
Right.
like they're
Yes.
coming.
And I think it's great that these strides have been made, and we are seeing progress. Now, I do have another filmmaker friend, a director, and she once made a point to me. She said she sat on a panel of directors, and she was the only female on the panel. And when
Hmm.
they were direct, when they were introducing the other directors, they were introduced as director, 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 director. And then
Mm,
when it got to her, they introduced her as female director. And she
hmm.
made the point to me that it wasn't bad being introduced as a female director. What was bad was the fact that she was singled out as a female director against all these male panelists who weren't introduced as a male director. So
Yeah.
to me, there isn't going to be 100% equality until either the women directors are not introduced as a woman director, or until Steven Spielberg, and I'm going to use him as an example, is introduced as a male director.
Yeah.
One or the other. I feel like that's going to be the point where we can say, okay, all right, now let's say that we've got this in the bag. We've made some great successes. We're finally there. But what's going to happen next? Because there's always going to be something that needs to be
Yeah.
fixed.
Well, I 100% agree. I mean, those roles go beyond gender, they go beyond race, they go beyond sexual orientation. Nobody wants to be labeled in that way.
Right.
I
Right.
don't, is Jordan Peele being, oh, here's a person of color director. No, he's a
Right.
director.
Right. Right.
And I personally do find it insulting. I mean, I've entered so many film festivals and I've even been recognized as best female director. And I'm like, was there a best male director? No,
Exactly.
there's
Yes.
best director and best
100%.
female director. And I'm like, that's
That.
not that's not
Mm-mm.
equality. That's not what
No.
and personally, I kind of reject those titles. I'm like, I'd rather
Good.
not
Good.
be
Yeah.
recognized as that. Like I am just as much as a director as the dude, next to me.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
more so. Who
Absolutely.
knows? I don't know.
Right.
But my
Exactly. It's,
vagina should
it's
have nothing to do with
it's
it.
right. Right. And if they are going to keep insisting that it does, then I think that the male director's penis should have something to do with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
introduce the male director as a male director. If you can't get it into your mind that the female director is a director, period, then you need to get into your mind that, okay, if you got segregation going on here with females, you need to segregate the males or make it all equal. And to make the
Yeah.
males segregated into a separate male director is ridiculous. It's just it's
Yeah.
this whole
That's
thing is
that's backwards. It's not the way to go.
it's
But
totally
I
backwards. Yes, it's
get your
not
point,
progress.
and
Yeah.
you're 100% correct. I mean, that's why, like, even structuring our awards, we have best director, best film, best
Hmm.
writing, best, it has nothing to do with the color of someone's skin, their gender, it's literally defined on that job, you
Yes,
know?
and that's why the Renegade is so important, and that's why the Renegades tell your audience about the Renegade and its placement being voted into top 50
Yeah.
I
So
love
in
this. This is
2021, we were rated by Movie Maker magazine as one of the top 50 genre fests in the world, which was a
I love
huge
that.
honor. And,
Yes, I love this.
I always wondered, I'm like, oh, how do people get on those lists? I'd love to be, and I still don't know. I just had gotten an email from them that said, you've been nominated, you're in your fest. And I was like, I had such a
And I
crazy, I have a
yeah.
stack of the magazines because I was just so proud and so blown away by that.
Are you able to talk a little bit about the entries of the types of entries that you have in the screenings that you have?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, submissions are still open. We're actually open through December 31st. So we still have films and screenplays rolling in. We just announced our first early selection, which is a feature anthology film that actually was produced as a reaction to the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And I am so
Oh,
excited. It's executive produced by filmmaker Natasha Halevi. I really hope I pronounced her name. Tasha, don't hate me if I said that wrong. Um, and yeah, it's called Give Me an A, and it is got some serious power behind it. It's, I believe, 17 shorts, 16 directors, and it's, I think our audience in particular is going to go bananas for it. And we wanted to make sure that we announced the early selection and encourage
mhm.
people to go out, register, to go vote. This Monday, the 17th, actually is when early voting starts in Georgia.
It's when new tickets go on sale for the 2023 fest.
Tickets, generally, I like to put them on sale sometime in January. The fest is March 2nd through the 4th, with film screenings all day, the 3rd and 4th.
In the past, I know that the Renegade Film Festival has had like did you say Marianne Madalena had been there? One of the
Yeah,
first years, correct? And then
she came the first 2 years, 2017 and 2018.
okay.
She was on the special guest jury in 2020.
Now you've also had on guests such as Deborah Sullivan, Adam Marcus,
Yes.
Heather Langenkamp, Amanda Wiss. Is there any
Yeah.
plans of who we may be having on coming in the future? Maybe Michelle Michaels, or what's the talk of
I
possible, if you can mention?
would love anyone and everyone to be there because it's just such a love fest. I don't have any confirmation as of yet. I hopefully we'll see, who's going to be available. I know Heather, always tries to make it every single year. She's
Yeah.
been ride or die since the beginning, and I am so grateful for her support and friendship.
We've also had Robert Kurtzman and Andre Gower. What other celebrities have I not mentioned that have been part of this fest? Right.
Lynn Lowry was with us year one. She had some great, Cronenberg and Romero
Yeah.
stories. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting someone. Oh, actually, who came year one that was so cool? Was Trina Parks, who, if people are not familiar with her, she was actually the first African American Bond girl from Diamonds Are Forever. And she did some other like fun horror movies and stuff, but she was amazing.
You we've been talking about the film festival. A lot of listeners may not realize you have many hats that you wear. You're also you write screenplays. You have some great screenplays out there that are getting a lot of positive attention. You're a director.
Yeah.
You've produced recently. What projects do you have coming out that we can talk about outside of the Renegade?
The one that I am putting all of my energy into right now is Sister Mary Murphy, Vampire
Mhm.
Slayer. It was I don't know how else to explain it outside of just completely absurdist horror comedy. I'm so excited about that one. And it's going to be such a wonderful project too because part of what I wanted to do when rebranding and really kind of fostering the community with Renegade. When
Yeah.
you go to film festivals, you meet people, you make connections, it's great, but then everybody goes home. And the thing I love is, we have such an amazing, strong community here in Atlanta. And it's like we
Hmm.
meet, we get together, and then it's like, why are we not creating together? Sometimes it happens, like you'll get a few people here and there, but I'm like, wouldn't it be great to pull everybody together, somehow and really utilize the indie community here? So that's part of what we're doing with um, the larger scale of what we're doing with Sister Mary Murphy is to really involve Atlanta and
That's great.
make it a true Atlanta project.
That sounds great. And now I know you're a huge fan of Tarantino, so
Yes.
are we going to get some little Tarantino vibe going on in there, or is this going to be just a complete surprise that we shouldn't even be asking you about at this point? Because
Um,
I can
I
totally, now, just based off of my experience
I
with you, I
dare
can
not
totally see this. This is just my
compare.
personal observation.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I can throw a little bit of Tarantino flavor in there, that would be the best. Yeah, I mean, he's was a huge inspiration to me as a filmmaker, and I just love his style. Like, so yeah, I'd say while still trying to keep it, my own voice, my own
Mhm.
style, there'll probably be a couple of nods just to be like, wink.
Speed round questions.
All right, I'm ready.
If if you could spend one day with anybody, present or historical, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I think I think it would be a toss up between Prince and David Bowie. I think that we are so blessed to have lived at the same time that those two existed.
I agree.
Like,
I
I
agree.
think
Yes,
they are geniuses. And
I agree.
I'm so sad that they're gone, but so grateful that, you know, we get a
Yeah.
piece of them and that we get to enjoy their art.
What is your favorite cuss word?
I really love the word crap. I think it's funny. I love to say that stuff is crap. I love to say, oh, crap. Like, it's just a good, ridiculous word that generally won't offend too many people.
So, what is the first horror movie that comes to your mind when I say horror movie? What's the
I've
first
got
one?
like
It should be
five. I have like
what? What's
five in my head.
what's the top of the list?
I guess we'll go with The Exorcist
The Exorcist. Oh yes,
because,
I do remember you liked seeing little 12-year-old girls possessed. This was part of our last conversation. I do remember this
yeah.
now. I
But I
made comments.
also like, I
Yes.
love the birds and the original Halloween, and Poltergeist has
What
such a special place in
it's
my heart.
all these titles that you're saying. I have watched all of them within the past 7 days. These are all fantastic movies. I love
They're
your taste in
classics.
movies.
I
What will
know.
be your legacy?
I
Yes.
don't know. I guess as far as like in the traditional sense, I mean, I hope I'm remembered pleasantly. I
Hmm.
hope that I was kind and that I somehow left um a good impression with people. I hope when they remember me, they smile and had a good time.
Yes. Yes.
That sounds also very self-indulgent because at the
No.
end of the day, does it really matter? I don't know. I'm gone.
Right. No, and
Um,
it's not self-indulgent. I think that's a great way to want to be remembered because that means that you're the kind of person who's making differences in the positive way that need to be made.
I hope so.
You're using a voice that needs to be heard. You're doing actions that need to be recognized, and you're
Yeah, I mean, if I'm forgotten, that's okay too. If someone has wronged me, I'm gonna come back and haunt you. So,
you will be someone's answer on what's your real life supernatural
yeah,
experience. Then we can talk about Vanessa again in a
right. And
whole
like
different
she's standing at the end of the hallway and be like, I'm not leaving. You pissed me off.
manner. She's telling me, come here, come here.
Right. And then be like, I'm dead. I've got nothing better to do now. Yeah, maybe that'll be my legacy. I'm gonna haunt.
Now, my final question for you is: if you were a ghost and you were able to come back on that astral plane, what
Yeah.
color will your hair be?
Ooh, I think I would like to have mood hair where it changes depending on the emotion that I'm either trying to give
Ooh,
off
that's
or
fascinating.
based on the energy of the space.
Yeah. So if
Uh,
you appear and I see you with black hair, just ignore you for that day and maybe set out
Probably because I guess
some
with that
offering food,
something to
grilled cheese sandwich or something. Yeah.
yeah, I'd have to what are the like color meanings? I feel like black would
I
be
don't know. I just feel like black would be dangerous, and I feel
yeah.
like red would be anger. or it could be passion, or it could be power. Red is
Yeah.
always one of those
You'll just have to
colors.
look
I guess
into my ghost eyes and
if I
see.
saw you with red hair, I would just have to ask you, how are you today, to kind of
Right.
see where we go from there. But I
I'm
think blue
really
and green and
mad.
purple are all are all positive colors. I'll have to ask the psychic medium. My daughter Courtney
Yeah.
is a psychic. She'll know what all these colors are.
Have her do a little color
I'll
chart, and then you can
I will
keep it
have her
with
do a color
you
chart.
for my
Yes.
passing. You'll know.
Well, Vanessa, thank you. It's always wonderful chatting with you. I'm so blessed to be able to consider you my personal friend, not just a guest, but my friend, and I adore you.
Same.
And I do
I
hope
love
that you
this.
have a great evening. And I honestly, I never want to be asking people about the ghost Vanessa, because I just want you to be here with us.
I
But
have no plans on going anywhere
good,
anytime
good,
soon. I'm here
good.
for the long run.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Vanessa. I hope you have an amazing Halloween.